Board governance. Table of content. Why governance matters. Chapter 1. The foundations of board governance. Chapter 2. Board roles, ethics, and decision-making. Chapter 3. Strategic oversight and value creation. Chapter 4. Risk governance and internal controls. Chapter 5. Board composition, diversity, and succession planning. Chapter 6. Board committees and their functions. Chapter 7. Board dynamics, culture, and decision-making. Chapter 8. The relationship between the board and management. Chapter 9. Board evaluation, learning, and continuous improvement. Chapter 10. Ethics, integrity, and corporate culture. Why governance matters. Good governance is the invisible architecture that holds an organization together. It is the system by which companies are directed and controlled, ensuring that power is exercised responsibly, resources are used effectively, and decisions are made ethically. In today's environment of heightened stakeholder expectations, ESG demands, and digital transformation, boards are under unprecedented scrutiny. The Board of Directors sits at the apex of this system. Its mandate is not only to oversee management, but to guide the organization toward long-term success. Poor governance can destroy billions in shareholder value, while strong governance sustains trust and strategic advantage over decades. Case study: Enron, when governance fails. Enron's 2001 collapse remains a textbook example of what happens when governance structures fail. Despite having a board filled with high-profile directors, Enron's governance model was undermined by conflicts of interest, lack of transparency, and ineffective oversight. The board failed to challenge management's complex off-balance sheet transactions, ultimately leading to the company's bankruptcy. The case led to sweeping reforms, including the Sarbanes-Oxley Act 2002, emphasizing accountability, audit integrity, and board independence. Chapter 1. The foundations of board governance. 1.1. Defining corporate governance. According to the OECD Principles of Corporate Governance, governance refers to a set of relationships between a company's management, its board, its shareholders, and other stakeholders. In simple terms, governance answers three questions. Who makes decisions? Who holds them accountable? How are those decisions aligned with stakeholder interests? Key components of governance. Accountability. Directors are answerable to shareholders and stakeholders. Transparency. Decisions and processes should be open and understandable. Integrity. Ethical conduct underpins every governance decision. Stewardship. The board acts as a guardian of long-term organizational health. Risk management. Oversight of financial, operational, and reputational risks. Governance is not just about compliance. It's about creating a culture where ethics and strategy intersect. 1.2. The role and responsibilities of the board. Boards are not management teams, they are oversight and guidance bodies. Their core functions typically include: Case study: Unilever's Sustainable Board Strategy. Unilever's board embedded sustainability at the heart of its governance framework. By aligning executive remuneration with sustainability KPIs, the board linked governance to purpose. The Unilever Sustainable Living Plan became a global benchmark, showing how governance can drive long-term stakeholder value rather than short-term profit. 1.3. Governance frameworks and codes. Different jurisdictions use different governance codes. Understanding these frameworks is essential for board members operating globally. Practical application. Boards should periodically review their governance framework to ensure alignment with evolving laws and stakeholder expectations. A governance charter can help codify responsibilities, authority limits, and communication channels. 1.4. The composition and structure of the board. The effectiveness of a board depends on who sits around the table and how they work together. Board composition. An effective board balances independence. Majority of directors should be non-executive. Diversity. Gender, experience, culture, and cognitive diversity enrich debate. Skills matrix. Expertise in finance, technology, ESG, and industry dynamics. Tenure and refreshment. Rotation prevents stagnation and groupthink. Committees. To manage workload and specialization, most boards delegate oversight to committees. Audit and Risk Committee oversees financial reporting and risk. Nomination and Governance Committee handles director selection and evaluation. Remuneration Committee aligns executive pay with performance. ESG or Sustainability Committee monitors ethical, social, and environmental impact. Case study: Microsoft's board renewal. In 2014, Satya Nadella's appointment as CEO coincided with a board refresh. Microsoft added directors with backgrounds in digital transformation, cybersecurity, and global markets. This strategic refresh aligned the board's composition with the company's future, demonstrating that governance adapts to strategy. 1.5. The relationship between board and management. The CEO-chair relationship is central to governance dynamics. The chair leads the board, ensuring effective meetings and independence. The CEO leads management and executes the approved strategy. Clear delineation prevents micromanagement while maintaining oversight. Boards should have mechanisms for open dialogue with management while retaining independence in judgment. Best practice tip: adopt an information protocol, defining what reports, data, and dashboards management must provide regularly. This ensures informed oversight without operational interference. 1.6. The governance life cycle. Good governance evolves through continuous improvement. Formation. Establish charters, bylaws, and committee structures. Execution. Implement governance processes and oversight. Evaluation. Annual board and committee performance reviews. Renewal. Update governance frameworks as the environment changes. Case study: the Singapore model. Singapore's Monetary Authority introduced an annual Code of Corporate Governance review. This practice of self-assessment and public disclosure has made Singapore's governance environment one of the most transparent in Asia. 1.7. Challenges in modern governance. Boards face a changing landscape. Digital disruption, cybersecurity, and AI governance are now top board priorities. ESG and climate risk. Stakeholders expect boards to drive sustainable transformation. Geopolitical risk. Global boards must navigate sanctions, trade tensions, and regulatory shifts. Stakeholder activism. Shareholders and NGOs increasingly hold boards accountable. Ethical leadership. Beyond compliance, boards must foster ethical cultures. Practical insight. Boards should integrate these topics into board education programs, ensuring directors remain current with global trends. 1.8. Summary and key takeaways. Governance defines how power, accountability, and integrity coexist. Effective boards are diverse, independent, and strategically aligned. Global frameworks provide guidance but must be contextualized. Board management relationships must balance oversight with collaboration. Governance excellence is a journey, not a static achievement. 1.9. Discussion questions. How can a board ensure its independence without alienating management? What practical steps can a board take to improve transparency? How does your board's composition reflect your company's strategic priorities? 1.10. Tools and templates. Sample board governance charter outline. Purpose and authority. Board composition and appointments. Meeting protocols. Role of the chair and CEO. Committee structure. Decision-making authority limits. Disclosure and ethics policy. Performance evaluation and renewal. Chapter 2. Board roles, ethics, and decision-making. 2.1. Introduction. The board as the moral compass. Every board faces moments when its decisions go beyond strategy or finance, when the question becomes not only can we, but should we? Boards are more than fiduciaries of capital. They are custodians of integrity. Their ethical orientation determines how the organization behaves under pressure, responds to crisis, and earns public trust. In this chapter, we explore how ethical principles and decision-making frameworks shape effective governance, and how directors can balance competing interests in complex environments. 2.2 The distinction between roles, chair, CEO, and directors. Effective governance depends on role clarity. Confusion about responsibilities between the board and management often leads to poor oversight or excessive interference. The role of the chair. The chair is the leader of the board, not the organization. Their duties include setting agendas that prioritize strategic issues, facilitating balanced participation and constructive debate, ensuring decisions are evidence-based and independent, acting as the main liaison between the board and the CEO. A skilled chair maintains the tone of respect and inquiry that distinguishes high-performing boards. The role of the CEO. The CEO leads the execution of strategy and manages the organization's daily operations. The CEO's accountability is to the board collectively, not to individual directors. The CEO provides information and recommendations to the board, but must respect the board's oversight authority. A healthy relationship is based on transparency, mutual trust, and professional distance. The role of directors. Directors are the collective mind of the board. Individually, they contribute expertise. Collectively, they exercise judgment and oversight. Their duties can be categorized into 3 domains. Case study: Boeing and the 737 MAX crisis. In the aftermath of the 737 MAX crashes, 2018-2019, investigators found that Boeing's board had prioritized financial targets over safety oversight. The board lacked sufficient technical expertise in aviation engineering and did not receive risk alerts in time. The incident demonstrates the importance of having domain expertise among directors, building reporting channels that bring risks directly to the board, upholding the duty of care, especially when human lives are at stake. 2.3 The ethical foundations of governance. Ethics in governance is not an abstract concept. It is a system of moral reasoning applied to organizational leadership. Ethical boards ask, what is right for our stakeholders, not just our shareholders? Are we making decisions we can defend publicly? Does this action align with our stated values? Core ethical principles. Integrity. Uphold honesty in reporting, disclosure, and decision-making. Fairness. Ensure equitable treatment of all stakeholders. Responsibility. Take accountability for outcomes, not just intentions. Transparency. Communicate decisions and rationale openly. Respect. Value diversity and human dignity across all operations. Ethical decision frameworks. Boards can use structured frameworks to guide difficult choices. The 4-lens model. Legal lens. Is it compliant with laws and regulations? Ethical lens. Is it consistent with our values and principles? Reputational lens. How would it appear if made public? Sustainability lens. Is it beneficial or harmful long-term? Case study: Johnson & Johnson and the Tylenol crisis, 1982. When 7 people died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules, Johnson & Johnson's board and management acted decisively. They recalled 31 million bottles nationwide, a costly decision made before regulators demanded it. The company's credo, emphasizing responsibility to customers and communities, guided this choice. In the long run, the brand's reputation recovered stronger than ever. Lesson: ethical leadership can transform crisis management into long-term trust capital. 2.4 Board decision-making dynamics. Effective governance depends on how boards make decisions, not just on what they decide. The decision-making cycle. Information gathering. Quality of input determines quality of decision. Deliberation. Directors engage in open, evidence-based debate. Resolution. The board votes or reaches consensus. Documentation. Minutes reflect rationale and dissenting opinions. Review. Post-decision analysis ensures learning and accountability. The role of cognitive diversity. Boards benefit when members bring varied perspectives. Diverse boards are less prone to groupthink, more innovative, and better at identifying risks. Research by McKinsey, 2023, shows that companies with gender and cultural diversity in their boards are 35% more likely to outperform peers in profitability. Decision biases to watch for. Confirmation bias, seeking evidence that supports existing views. Authority bias, deferring to powerful personalities, often the CEO. Overconfidence bias, underestimating risks due to past success. Anchoring bias, fixating on initial data points or assumptions. Boards should cultivate a culture of inquiry, encouraging respectful dissent and red team discussions, simulated challenges to strategic assumptions. Case study: NASA's Challenger disaster, 1986. Despite engineers' warning of O-ring failures, NASA's leadership, influenced by schedule pressure and optimism bias, approved the shuttle's launch. The disaster underscored how organizational culture and groupthink can override factual warnings. Modern boards can learn from NASA's mistake. Dissent is not disloyalty, it is a safeguard. 2.5 Managing conflicts of interest. A conflict of interest occurs when a director's personal or external interests could interfere with their duty to act in the best interest of the organization. Types of conflicts. Financial, owning shares in a supplier or competitor. Relational, family or close ties influencing decision-making. Professional, holding multiple directorships that compete for loyalty. Information, access to insider knowledge used for personal gain. Managing conflicts. Require annual disclosure of potential conflicts. Recuse conflicted directors from deliberations. Maintain a public register of interests for listed or public entities. Enforce strict confidentiality protocols. Case study: Uber's early board conflict, 2017. Uber's board faced internal division over founder Travis Kalanick's conduct and strategy. Personal loyalties and conflicting interests among directors delayed decisive action. The lack of a formal conflict resolution process led to reputational harm. Eventually, governance reforms were introduced, including independent director appointments and stricter ethics guidelines. 2.6 Boardroom ethics in the digital era. Boards today must navigate ethical dilemmas in technology and data governance. Questions like, who owns customer data? How do we balance AI efficiency with privacy rights? Are now central to board ethics. Digital responsibility principles. Transparency in AI. Disclose how algorithms make decisions. Data privacy. Protect customer and employee data rigorously. Cyber accountability. Boards must understand cyber risks, not delegate them blindly. Human impact. Consider how technology affects employees and communities. Example: Microsoft's AI Ethics Committee. Microsoft's board established a responsible AI committee, integrating ethics review into technology development. This structure ensures ethical oversight is not afterthought, but embedded in governance. 2.7 Building a culture of ethical governance. Ethical culture is built, not imposed. Boards influence culture through their actions, decisions, and example. Practical steps. Begin every major decision discussion with an ethics lens question. Conduct annual ethics and integrity training for directors. Include ethics KPIs in CEO and executive evaluations. Promote speak-up policies and whistleblower protection. Tone at the top. Employees mirror leadership behavior. When boards model integrity, transparent remuneration, fair reporting, and accountability, ethical norms cascade through the organization. Case study: Patagonia, governance aligned with values. Patagonia's founder transferred ownership to a trust, ensuring profits support environmental causes. The board's governance structure embeds purpose, sustainability, and transparency. This radical move redefined corporate ethics, showing that governance can align profit with planetary responsibility. 2.8 The ethical board evaluation. Modern board evaluations go beyond performance. They assess ethical maturity. Key evaluation dimensions. Ethical decision-making competence. Conflict of interest management. Boardroom conduct and integrity. Transparency of communications. Stakeholder trust metrics. Annual self-assessments and external reviews help maintain ethical vigilance. 2.9 Summary and key takeaways. Role clarity between board, chair, and CEO prevents governance friction. Ethics are the foundation of sustainable decision-making. Diverse, inquisitive boards make better, less biased decisions. Conflicts of interest must be disclosed and managed systematically. Digital governance and AI ethics are emerging board responsibilities. A strong ethical culture originates from the boardroom. 2.10 Discussion questions. How does your board ensure ethical integrity under commercial pressure? What mechanisms exist for raising dissenting opinions in your boardroom? How can your board improve diversity of thought in decision-making? 2.11 Tools and templates. Ethical decision checklist for boards. Is the decision lawful and transparent? Who benefits and who could be harmed? Would this decision stand public or media scrutiny? Does it align with our stated purpose and values? Have all relevant perspectives been considered? Chapter 3. Strategic Oversight and Value Creation. 3.1 Introduction. Governance as a strategic lever. The most effective boards don't just approve strategy, they shape it. Strategic oversight is where governance and enterprise leadership converge. A board's ability to balance oversight with foresight often determines whether an organization thrives or stagnates. Governance, at its core, is a mechanism for creating value over the long term. It does this by ensuring strategy aligns with purpose, resources, and stakeholder expectations. Boards that focus purely on compliance risk becoming reactive. Those that embrace strategic governance become catalysts for innovation, resilience, and performance. Case study, Apple Inc. Governance driving strategic focus. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the board faced a make-or-break moment. Under the guidance of a newly aligned governance framework, emphasizing strategic simplicity and focus, Apple eliminated dozens of unfocused projects and concentrated on a few transformative ones: the iMac, iPod, and eventually the iPhone. The board's disciplined strategic oversight, focusing on innovation governance and capital discipline, transformed Apple into the world's most valuable company. Lesson: strategic governance is not about control, it's about enabling focused execution. 3.2 The board's role in strategy. From approval to engagement. Boards play several roles throughout the strategic cycle. The board's influence should extend beyond formal approval to continuous engagement through strategic reviews, scenario discussions, and performance dialogues. Strategy as a governance responsibility. Boards are accountable for ensuring alignment between purpose, vision, and strategy, testing assumptions that underlie management proposals, validating risk appetite consistent with the strategy, monitoring execution via KPIs, dashboards, and balanced scorecards. Boards should be curious but not intrusive, asking probing questions that stimulate management thinking without micromanaging. 3.3 Strategy and long-term value creation. The board's ultimate task is to safeguard sustainable value: financial, human, intellectual, social, and environmental capital. The 5 capitals model. Financial capital, profitability, capital efficiency, and shareholder return. Human capital, talent attraction, leadership development, and engagement. Intellectual capital, innovation, R&D, and knowledge assets. Social capital, brand reputation, stakeholder trust, and community impact. Natural capital, environmental stewardship and resource management. Boards that adopt an integrated value lens look beyond quarterly earnings to holistic performance. Case study, Unilever's Sustainable Living Plan. Unilever's board embedded sustainability metrics into strategic planning and executive pay. The approach aligned social and environmental responsibility with financial growth, creating measurable long-term value. Between 2010 and 2020, Unilever outperformed peers in shareholder returns while reducing environmental impact. Lesson: when governance aligns purpose and profit, value creation becomes sustainable. 3.4 The Strategic Oversight Framework. Boards can adopt a structured approach to ensure comprehensive strategic oversight. This framework ensures that boards remain strategically literate while maintaining independence. 3.5 Information flow and strategic intelligence. Boards cannot govern what they cannot see. Strategic oversight depends on timely, relevant, and forward-looking information. Building a strategic information system. Boards should ensure regular strategy updates from management, access to external perspectives, industry experts, economists, regulators, use of dashboards highlighting performance trends and emerging risks, inclusion of early warning indicators, not just lagging financials. The role of the corporate secretary. A skilled corporate secretary curates strategic papers and ensures that board materials focus on issues of substance over form. This prevents information overload and supports informed debate. Case study: Netflix Adaptive Strategy Oversight. Netflix's board receives quarterly strategic intelligence briefings on emerging technologies and viewer behavior. By continuously reviewing disruption scenarios, the board enables management agility. As a result, Netflix pivoted from DVD rentals to streaming, then to original content, all under the board's adaptive strategic oversight model. 3.6 Balancing risk and innovation. Strategy is incomplete without risk. Boards must balance opportunity and exposure, encouraging innovation while safeguarding resilience. The risk-reward spectrum. Boards should define their risk appetite, the degree of uncertainty they're willing to accept in pursuit of strategy. Conservative boards may protect capital, but miss innovation. Bold boards may innovate, but risk volatility. Balanced boards articulate thresholds and triggers for strategic risk-taking. Linking risk to strategy. Embed risk dashboards into strategic reporting. Review strategic risks, market shifts, technological change, reputation. Ensure alignment between enterprise risk management, and strategic objectives. Case study: Tesla High-Risk, High-Reward Governance. Tesla's governance framework allows for calculated risk-taking. While critics often question board independence, its willingness to support ambitious R&D and market expansion, e.g., gigafactories, battery tech, has fueled innovation and long-term shareholder value. The lesson: strategic oversight doesn't mean risk avoidance, it means risk intelligence. 3.7 The role of board committees in strategy. Strategic governance is a collective responsibility, but committees can deepen oversight. Audit and Risk Committee links financial sustainability and strategic risk. Remuneration Committee aligns incentives with strategic objectives. ESG Sustainability Committee integrates long-term stakeholder value into planning. Technology Committee, in some firms, oversees digital and innovation strategies. Committees report insights to the full board, ensuring coherence and integration across strategic dimensions. 3.8 Board Management Collaboration in Strategy. Boards must find the governance sweet spot, close enough to guide, far enough to oversee. Effective collaboration practices. Conduct annual strategy retreats with management. Encourage open dialogue on market disruptions. Use pre-reads and scenario briefs to prepare for deep discussion. Rotate directors to lead thematic deep dives, e.g., technology, ESG. Red flags. Strategy presented as a fait accompli. Board questions dismissed as operational. Lack of documented debate in minutes. Strong governance ensures strategic discussions are robust, not ceremonial. Case study: IBM's board transformation. In the early 2000s, IBM's board restructured its strategy process. Rather than annual approvals, it instituted continuous strategic dialogue with management. Directors attended market briefings, client visits, and R&D sessions. This engagement helped IBM shift into services and cloud computing, sustaining its relevance amid massive industry change. 3.9 Measuring strategic performance. Boards must translate strategy into measurable outcomes. Key tools include balanced scorecards, financial, customer, internal process, and learning metrics. Strategic KPIs, market share, innovation pipeline, customer retention, ESG impact. Benchmarking, compare performance against peers and industry standards. Strategic audits, periodic independent reviews of strategy execution. Tip: boards should ensure KPIs are leading indicators, not just historical metrics. Measuring innovation readiness, employee engagement, or brand equity can predict future value better than quarterly profits alone. 3.10 Adapting strategy in volatile times. Boards today operate in environments defined by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, VUCA. Agility and scenario planning. Boards should demand multiple strategy scenarios, not one rigid plan. Base case, expected trajectory. Upside scenario, opportunities from favorable change. Downside scenario, adverse market or regulatory shifts. Regular scenario exercises build agility and prepare the organization for shocks. Example: COVID-19 board response. Boards that maintained flexible strategy processes adapted faster during the pandemic. Companies with digital-ready business models and pre-approved crisis frameworks recovered market position more quickly. Lesson: strategic resilience is a product of governance foresight. 3.11 Integrating ESG into strategic oversight. Environmental, social, and governance (ESG) considerations are now integral to strategy. Boards should treat ESG as strategic, not philanthropic. Integrate ESG risks and opportunities into core planning. Monitor disclosure quality against frameworks like TCFD, GRI, or SASB. Case study: BlackRock and ESG stewardship. BlackRock's board and leadership publicly tied investment strategies to sustainability metrics. By embedding ESG in governance, it redefined the asset management industry's approach to long-term value. 3.12 Tools and frameworks for strategic governance. Practical tools. Board strategy oversight checklist. Have we validated alignment with mission and purpose? Are assumptions stress-tested and evidence-based? Are performance measures balanced and forward-looking? Is there a clear link between strategy and risk appetite? Board dashboard template. Financial KPIs. Non-financial KPIs, ESG, innovation, customer trust. Strategic milestones. Risk indicators. Annual strategy review agenda. Review previous year's outcomes. External environment scan. Strategy refresh discussion. Scenario testing. Board reflection and lessons learned. 3.13 Summary and key takeaways. Strategic oversight is a core board function, not a once-a-year event. Boards create value by aligning strategy with purpose, ethics, and risk. Effective governance integrates financial and non-financial value metrics. Collaboration with management must encourage insight, not interference. Agile boards embrace scenario planning and ESG integration for resilience. 3.14 Discussion questions. How does your board ensure strategy aligns with long-term value creation? What information do you need to improve your strategic oversight? How can the board encourage innovation while maintaining accountability? Chapter 4: Risk Governance and Internal Controls. 4.1 Introduction: Risk as the shadow of strategy. Every strategy carries risk. Where there is ambition, there is exposure to markets, technology, regulation, and human behavior. The board's responsibility is not to eliminate risk, but to govern it, ensuring that the organization understands, manages, and takes the right risks for the right returns. Risk governance is the bridge between value creation and value protection. Boards that neglect it often discover too late that growth without controls leads to instability, while excessive risk aversion stifles innovation. Case study: Credit Suisse, the cost of governance failure, 2021. Credit Suisse suffered over $10 billion in losses linked to Archegos Capital and Greensill. Investigations revealed board-level weaknesses, fragmented risk reporting, excessive reliance on management assurances, and a culture of complacency. Lesson: risk oversight is a board-level discipline, not a back-office function. 4.2 The board's role in risk governance. The board's primary duties in risk governance include defining risk appetite, determining how much risk the organization is willing to take in pursuit of its goals, overseeing risk management frameworks, ensuring systems exist to identify, assess, and mitigate key risks, monitoring and challenging management, asking informed questions about risk exposure and control adequacy, ensuring transparency, approving risk disclosures to shareholders and regulators, promoting a risk-aware culture, setting expectations that risk management is everyone's responsibility. Boards should treat risk as strategic intelligence, not a compliance exercise. 4.3 The Three Lines of Defense Model. A widely used framework for organizing risk governance is the Three Lines of Defense model. The board, through its audit and risk committees, provides overarching oversight, ensuring all three lines communicate effectively. Practical tip: boards should conduct annual risk governance effectiveness reviews to test whether all three lines are functioning cohesively. 4.4 Risk appetite and tolerance. A risk appetite statement articulates the level and types of risk an organization is willing to pursue or retain. Elements of a risk appetite framework. Risk categories: strategic, financial, operational, compliance, reputational, ESG, cyber, etc. Quantitative metrics: financial loss thresholds, capital ratios, performance variance. Qualitative statements: tolerance for regulatory scrutiny, innovation failure, or social controversy. Escalation protocols: defined limits for board notification and intervention. Benefits: aligns strategy and risk-taking. Guides management decision-making. Enables consistent risk communication across the enterprise. Case study: HSBC's risk appetite transformation. Following compliance issues in 2012, HSBC implemented a global risk appetite framework linking board-approved risk thresholds to business decisions. This unified structure improved transparency and reduced regulatory incidents by 40% within 3 years. 4.5 Enterprise Risk Management (ERM). ERM is the structured process for identifying, assessing, responding to, and monitoring enterprise risks. The ERM process: identification, map emerging and existing risks. Assessment, measure likelihood and impact. Response, decide to mitigate, transfer, accept, or avoid. Monitoring, track risk indicators and changes over time. Reporting, provide risk dashboards and summaries to the board. Boards should ensure the ERM system aligns with recognized standards such as ISO 31000 or the COSO ERM framework. Risk heat maps and dashboards. Boards benefit from visual tools summarizing top risks. Tip: focus board time on red zone risks that are both likely and impactful. 4.6 Internal controls, the backbone of governance. Internal controls are the processes designed to ensure integrity in financial reporting, operational efficiency, and legal compliance. Components of a strong internal control system based on COSO framework. Control environment, ethical culture, leadership tone, accountability. Risk assessment, identification and prioritization of key risks. Control activities, policies and procedures that mitigate risks. Information and communication, transparent reporting across all levels. Monitoring, regular reviews and audits of control effectiveness. The board ensures management designs and implements adequate controls, and that internal audit independently tests them. Case study: WorldCom 2002, when controls collapse. WorldCom inflated profits by $11 billion through false accounting. The board lacked financial literacy, and internal controls were weak. The scandal led to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which made boards personally responsible for internal control effectiveness. Lesson: internal control oversight cannot be delegated blindly. Directors must understand and evaluate the system's design. 4.7 The Audit Committee, Guardian of Assurance. Audit committees play a pivotal role in risk governance. Core responsibilities: oversee financial reporting integrity, supervise internal and external audit activities, review internal control and risk management systems, ensure compliance with laws, regulations, and ethics policies. Best practices: maintain at least one financial expert member, conduct executive sessions with auditors without management present, review whistleblower reports and related investigations, rotate external auditors periodically to maintain independence. Relationship with internal audit. Boards should ensure internal audit has direct access to the audit committee, independence from operational management, sufficient resources and authority. Case study: Siemens AG, strengthening assurance after crisis. After corruption scandals in 2006, Siemens overhauled its audit and compliance governance. The board created a risk and compliance committee, introduced new reporting channels, and expanded internal audit capacity. These reforms restored investor trust and set a new global benchmark in ethics oversight. 4.8 Emerging risks and board readiness. The risk landscape is dynamic. Boards must stay ahead of emerging threats such as cybersecurity and data breaches, AI ethics and algorithmic bias, climate change and ESG litigation, geopolitical volatility, supply chain fragility, reputation and social license risks. Boards should include these risks in quarterly reviews and ensure management conducts scenario analyses and contingency planning. Case study: Maersk and the 2017 cyber attack. A ransomware attack paralyzed Maersk's global shipping network, costing over $300 million. Post-incident, the board established a cybersecurity governance framework with clear escalation thresholds, real-time dashboards, and a dedicated tech oversight director. Lesson: boards must treat cyber risk as a strategic risk, not an IT issue. 4.9 Integrating risk and strategy. Effective governance integrates risk with strategy, finance, and operations. The strategic risk loop. Board sets strategic objectives. Risks are identified and assessed. Strategy is adjusted based on risk appetite. Controls are designed to protect value. Continuous monitoring ensures adaptation. This creates a feedback loop where risk intelligence informs strategic decision-making. 4.10 Risk culture and ethics. Even the best systems fail without the right culture. Boards must champion risk-aware behavior across all levels. 4.10.1 Building a risk-aware culture. Link risk management to performance evaluations. Recognize employees who report issues early. Train staff on ethics and compliance regularly. Model open discussion of risk at board level. A culture where people hide bad news is a governance failure waiting to happen. Case study: Wells Fargo 2016, incentives gone wrong. Wells Fargo's aggressive sales culture led employees to open millions of fake accounts to meet quotas. Despite strong policies, the board failed to see how toxic incentives drove misconduct. Lesson: culture is the ultimate control. When reward systems misalign with ethics, governance collapses. 4.11 Board Assurance Map. An assurance map helps the board visualize who provides assurance over which risks. This ensures no blind spots in oversight. 4.12 Tools and templates. 1. Board Risk Oversight Checklist. Is there a clear, board-approved risk appetite statement? Are top enterprise risks regularly reviewed and updated? Does internal audit report independently to the board? Is risk culture monitored and reinforced? Are ESG and cyber risks integrated into governance? 2. Board Risk Dashboard Template. 3. Annual Risk Review Agenda. Review risk appetite and strategy alignment. Discuss top enterprise and emerging risks. Evaluate internal control effectiveness. Meet with auditors and compliance heads. Approve risk disclosures in annual report. 4.13 Summary and Key Takeaways. Risk governance is a central pillar of board accountability. Boards must balance opportunity and protection through risk appetite. Internal controls ensure transparency and integrity across operations. Audit and risk committees are the board's assurance anchors. Emerging risks require foresight and adaptability. A strong risk culture, not just strong systems, prevents crises. 4.14 Discussion questions. How does your board define and monitor its risk appetite? What mechanisms ensure independence of internal audit? How can your board strengthen risk culture across the organization? Is cybersecurity treated as a core strategic issue at board level? Chapter 5. Board Composition, Diversity and Succession Planning. 5.1 Introduction. People as the engine of governance. A board is only as effective as the people who comprise it. Governance frameworks, charters, and codes mean little without competent, diverse, and ethical directors to bring them to life. Board composition shapes the quality of decisions, the balance of debate, and the ability to foresee risks and opportunities. As corporate environments become more complex and global, the board's collective intelligence, its mix of skills, experiences, and perspectives, becomes a key strategic asset. Board renewal and succession are therefore not administrative matters. They are strategic imperatives that ensure continuity, agility, and long-term governance effectiveness. Case study: General Electric (GE) Lessons in Board Renewal. GE's decline in the late 2010s revealed a board overly anchored in legacy expertise. Most directors had deep industrial or financial experience, but limited digital or innovation background. Following restructuring, GE revamped its board, adding directors with technology, energy transition, and cybersecurity expertise, aligning governance capabilities with strategic transformation. Lesson: Board renewal must follow strategy, not tradition. 5.2 The Principles of Board Composition. The ideal board mix. Effective boards combine three forms of diversity: demographic diversity, gender, ethnicity, age, and geography; cognitive diversity, different professional backgrounds, education, and problem-solving approaches; experiential diversity, varied industries, leadership roles, and stakeholder perspectives; size and structure. While optimal board size depends on the organization, research suggests private nonprofit boards, 7-11 members; listed companies, 9 to 13 members. Larger boards risk slower decision-making. Smaller boards may lack skill breadth. Boards should ensure a balance between executive directors, inside knowledge; non-executive directors, NEDs, independent oversight; independent chairperson, separation of power. Case study: the UK's FTSE 100 Gender Diversity Drive. The Hampton-Alexander Review, 2016 to 2021, pushed FTSE 100 boards to achieve at least 33% female representation. By 2021, women held 39% of board seats, up from 12% a decade earlier, with evidence of improved board dynamics and performance. Lesson: diversity is not tokenism, it strengthens governance and innovation. 5.3 Independence and Objectivity. Independence is the foundation of board credibility. Defining independence. A director is independent when they have no material relationship with the company other than their directorship. They are not part of management, nor related to key executives. Their judgment is not influenced by personal or financial interests. Why independence matters. Reduces conflicts of interest. Strengthens oversight of management. Enhances investor and stakeholder trust. Promotes unbiased decision-making in sensitive areas, e.g., executive pay, audit. Most governance codes recommend that at least half of the board, excluding the chair, should be independent directors. Case study: Volkswagen AG, governance lessons from Dieselgate. The Dieselgate scandal exposed governance weaknesses rooted in limited board independence and close ties to major shareholders. Lack of challenge from independent directors allowed questionable decisions to go unexamined. Lesson: without genuine independence, even technically strong boards can fail ethically. 5.4 The Board Skills Matrix. A skills matrix helps boards visualize their collective strengths and identify capability gaps. Example: Board Skills Matrix Template. Interpretation: boards should revisit their matrix annually to ensure alignment with evolving strategic needs. Practical tip: when the company's strategy shifts, for example, toward digital transformation or climate neutrality, board composition must evolve accordingly. 5.5 Diversity as a source of governance strength. The business case for diversity. McKinsey, 2023, found that companies with gender-diverse boards outperform peers by 25% in profitability, and ethnically diverse boards outperform by 36%. Diverse boards. Broaden stakeholder understanding. Reduce groupthink. Improve innovation and risk oversight. Reflect societal expectations and legitimacy. Beyond compliance. Diversity should not be a quota-driven exercise. Real inclusion means equal access to leadership development, mentoring and sponsorship for underrepresented directors, psychological safety to express dissenting views. Case study: NASDAQ's Board Diversity Rule 2021. NASDAQ now requires listed companies to publicly disclose board diversity data and include at least one woman and one underrepresented minority or LGBTQ+ director, or explain why not. This shift reframed diversity from a moral issue to a market and disclosure issue, embedding it in governance accountability. 5.6 Board Recruitment and Selection. The recruitment process. Needs assessment. Review skill gaps via the Board Skills Matrix. Search process. Use professional search firms for independent candidates. Evaluation. Assess integrity, experience, and cultural fit. Nomination. Recommended by the Governance Committee. Approval. Formal appointment by shareholders or the board. Criteria for selection. Strategic competence and ethical reputation. Understanding of fiduciary responsibilities. Time availability and independence. Collaborative mindset and communication skills. Induction and onboarding. New directors should undergo structured onboarding covering the company's strategy, financials, and key risks. Governance frameworks and committee charters. Site visits and management interactions. Effective onboarding accelerates contribution and ensures informed oversight from the first meeting. 5.7 Succession Planning. Ensuring continuity and renewal. Succession is not only about replacing people, it's about preserving capability and continuity. Why succession planning matters. Prevents leadership vacuums. Enables smooth CEO and chair transitions. Builds resilience in governance. Ensures generational renewal and diversity. Board-level succession planning framework. Boards should maintain a succession map, a confidential document identifying potential successors for key roles. Case study: Microsoft CEO transition 2014. When Steve Ballmer stepped down, Microsoft's board had already developed a detailed CEO succession plan. The process led to the appointment of Satya Nadella, whose vision transformed Microsoft's culture and strategy. Lesson: proactive succession planning protects stability and supports strategic reinvention. 5.8 Term limits, tenure, and board refreshment. Term and tenure guidelines. Many governance codes recommend 3-year terms, renewable up to a maximum of 9 to 12 years. After 9 years, independence may be considered compromised. Boards should stagger director retirements to maintain continuity. Evaluating tenure. Long tenure brings institutional knowledge. Excessive tenure risks complacency. Periodic board evaluations should balance both. Case study: Singapore's 2022 governance reform. The Monetary Authority of Singapore introduced a 9-year tenure limit for independent directors to encourage renewal and independence. The move improved generational diversity and reduced entrenchment. Lesson: fresh perspectives sustain effective oversight. 5.9 Board Evaluation and Renewal. Evaluation methods. Internal self-evaluation. Annual questionnaires on effectiveness. Peer review. Directors evaluate each other's contributions. External review. Independent facilitator every 2 to 3 years. Evaluation dimensions. Board composition and diversity. Meeting quality and decision-making. Strategic oversight and ethics. Culture, communication, and collaboration. Using results. Boards should document findings, agree on improvement actions, and link evaluation outcomes to succession and renewal processes. Case study: BP plc, post-Deepwater Horizon renewal. After the 2010 oil spill, BP's board underwent an external evaluation revealing gaps in safety oversight expertise. The company replaced and recruited directors with environmental and operational risk backgrounds, transforming governance depth. Lesson: evaluation is not criticism, it's evolution. 5.10 Board Diversity and Inclusion Policy. Boards should formalize their commitment to diversity and inclusion through policy statements outlining objectives for board diversity, criteria for nomination and selection, disclosure commitments in annual reports, accountability mechanisms for progress monitoring. Transparent reporting builds stakeholder confidence and aligns with ESG governance standards. 5.11 Tools and Templates. 1. Sample Board Skills Matrix Template condensed. 2. Board Succession Plan Template. Position: CEO, Chair, Committee Chair. Expected Transition: _____. Successor Candidates: _____. Development Actions: _____. Emergency Replacement Plan: _____. 3. Annual Board Evaluation Checklist. Are board skills aligned with strategic priorities? Does the board maintain adequate diversity and independence? Is succession planning reviewed annually? Are evaluations leading to tangible changes? 5.12 Summary and Key Takeaways. Board composition is strategic. It defines governance quality. Independence and diversity are cornerstones of effective oversight. A well-designed skills matrix guides recruitment and renewal. Succession planning ensures leadership continuity and stability. Regular evaluation fosters learning, accountability, and adaptability. Inclusive boards make better, more ethical, and more innovative decisions. 5.13 Discussion Questions. Does your board's composition reflect your organization's strategic direction? How often does your board review and update its skills matrix? What systems exist for identifying and developing future board leaders? How do you measure progress on board diversity and inclusion? Chapter 6: Board Committees and Their Functions. 6.1 Introduction: Delegation without dilution. Modern boards face a paradox. They must govern strategically while overseeing an ever-growing range of specialized issues, from cybersecurity to ESG and executive pay. To manage this workload effectively, boards delegate detailed work to committees without diluting overall accountability. Committees provide depth. The board provides direction. The board cannot abdicate. It can only delegate with discipline. Sir Adrian Cadbury, The Cadbury Report, 1992. 6.2 The rationale for board committees. Board committees exist to enhance governance efficiency by distributing complex workloads, enable focused discussion and expert analysis, strengthen oversight and assurance mechanisms, Build transparency and accountability through formal reporting. Common standing committees. Most organizations have at least 3 statutory committees. Audit Committee. Remuneration, Compensation Committee. Nomination, Governance Committee. Other emerging committees include Risk Committee, ESG or Sustainability Committee, Technology or Innovation Committee. The choice depends on organizational size, regulatory requirements, and strategic priorities. Case study: J.P. Morgan Chase Committee Integration for Complex Governance. J.P. Morgan operates multiple committees: Audit, Risk, Compensation and Management Development, Governance in Public Responsibility, and Technology. Each committee reports to the board quarterly, with overlapping membership to ensure information symmetry. Lesson: committee specialization must be balanced by cross-communication to prevent siloed oversight. 6.3 Committee Governance Framework. Committee Charters. Every committee must have a formal charter approved by the board outlining purpose and scope of authority, composition and member qualifications, roles and responsibilities, reporting lines to the board, meeting frequency and quorum, access to independent advice and resources. Committee composition. At least 3 members, primarily independent non-executive directors. Chair should be an independent director, except audit and risk committees, which cannot be chaired by the board chair. Members selected for expertise relevant to the committee's function. Reporting and transparency. Committees should keep detailed minutes of deliberations, submit regular written reports to the full board, publish summary disclosures in the annual report. 6.4 The Audit Committee. The Audit Committee is the cornerstone of board assurance, safeguarding financial integrity and stakeholder confidence. Key responsibilities: financial reporting, oversee accuracy and integrity of financial statements. Internal controls, review adequacy and effectiveness of internal control systems. Internal audit, approve audit plans and review findings. External audit, recommend auditor appointment, assess independence and performance. Compliance, monitor legal, regulatory, and ethical adherence. Composition. Minimum 3 independent non-executive directors. At least 1 financial expert, as per Sarbanes-Oxley and global standards. Access to independent financial advice as needed. Best practices. Hold private sessions with external and internal auditors. Review whistleblower complaints and investigation outcomes. Maintain audit rotation every 5 to 10 years to preserve independence. Case study: Enron 2001, when the audit committee failed. Enron's board had an audit committee that met infrequently and relied excessively on management assurances. Conflicts of interest with auditors Arthur Andersen went unchallenged, leading to one of history's largest corporate collapses. Lesson: audit committees must probe, not rubber stamp. Independence without inquiry is illusion. 6.5 The Risk Committee. With today's volatile business environment, many boards establish a dedicated risk committee to ensure structured oversight of strategic, operational, financial, and emerging risks. Core responsibilities: approve the risk appetite statement, oversee the enterprise risk management framework, review top risks, controls, and mitigation actions, oversee cybersecurity, compliance, and ESG risks, report risk trends and incidents to the full board. Composition: predominantly independent directors. Chair cannot be the board chair. At least 1 member with risk management or financial background. Integration with audit committee. In smaller organizations, audit and risk oversight may be combined. However, for complex entities, banks, listed companies, separate committees improve depth and focus. Case study: Standard Chartered Bank, strengthening risk governance. Following the 2012 money laundering scandal, Standard Chartered restructured its risk oversight, creating a board risk committee with direct access to the chief risk officer and independent data reporting lines. Result: improved early warning systems and regulatory confidence. 6.6 The Remuneration Compensation Committee. Remuneration committees ensure that executive pay is fair, transparent, and linked to long-term value creation, not short-term gain. Responsibilities: set and review CEO and senior executive compensation. Align rewards with strategy, performance, and risk outcomes. Approve incentive and share-based plans. Review pay equity and gender gap reports. Ensure compliance with say-on-pay disclosure requirements. Principles of sound remuneration governance. Pay for performance, clear linkage to measurable outcomes. Transparency, disclosure of total remuneration. Alignment, long-term shareholder value. Fairness, internal equity and gender balance. Case study: Wells Fargo, incentives and misconduct. The 2016 Wells Fargo scandal revealed how toxic incentive structures encouraged unethical sales practices. The board's remuneration committee had failed to test whether incentive goals aligned with corporate values. Lesson: compensation oversight must integrate ethical risk analysis, not just financial metrics. 6.7 The Nomination and Governance Committee. This committee ensures that the board remains capable, ethical, and future-ready. Responsibilities: lead director recruitment and succession planning. Oversee board evaluation and renewal. Recommend committee appointments. Maintain and monitor corporate governance standards. Ensure compliance with diversity policies. Composition: independent directors only. Chaired by the board chair, except where codes require separation. Case study: Unilever strategic board succession. Unilever's nomination committee maintains a 5-year succession pipeline aligned with sustainability and innovation priorities. This forward-looking approach ensures continuity and strategic alignment during leadership transitions. Lesson: governance committees drive agility through foresight, not reaction. 6.8 The ESG and Sustainability Committee. As environmental, social, and governance (ESG) expectations rise, many boards form dedicated committees to oversee sustainability performance and disclosure. Key responsibilities: approve sustainability strategy and targets. Monitor ESG performance metrics, emissions, diversity, community impact. Oversee ESG reporting and assurance. Review stakeholder engagement outcomes. Composition: mix of directors with ESG, operations, and stakeholder expertise. Coordination with risk and audit committees for integrated assurance. Case study: Nestlé, board-level ESG integration. Nestlé's Sustainability Committee reports directly to the board, linking climate, packaging, and nutrition goals to corporate performance metrics. The committee collaborates with audit and risk teams for cross-functional accountability. Lesson: ESG governance requires both specialization and integration. 6.9 The Technology and Innovation Committee. In the digital era, technology oversight has become a board-level priority. This committee ensures that technology strategy, cybersecurity, and innovation align with business objectives. Responsibilities: oversee IT and data strategy. Monitor cybersecurity preparedness. Evaluate technology-related investments and risks. Support innovation governance and digital transformation. Composition: directors with backgrounds in digital, data, or technology sectors. Collaboration with risk and audit committees for cyber risk alignment. Case study: Bank of America Tech Oversight at Scale. Bank of America's Digital and Technology Committee provides board-level oversight of AI adoption, cybersecurity, and digital customer engagement. It has been credited with enhancing the bank's resilience and digital innovation leadership. Lesson: technology governance is now core governance. 6.10 cross-committee coordination. Fragmentation is a common failure mode in multi-committee structures. To avoid it. Best practices. Joint sessions on overlapping topics, e.g., risk and audit. Annual coordination calendar, aligning key oversight cycles. Shared dashboards to maintain consistent data across committees. Integrated reporting to the full board for holistic assurance. 6.11 Committee evaluation and continuous improvement. Each committee should undergo annual performance evaluations, including committee structure and composition, quality of materials and information flow, fulfillment of charter responsibilities, coordination with management and other committees. Outcomes should feed into board evaluations and succession planning. 6.12 Tools and templates. 1. Committee charter outline. Purpose, authority and access, membership criteria, roles and responsibilities, meeting frequency, reporting to board, review and amendment process. 2. Committee calendar example. 3. Committee evaluation checklist, clear mandate and charter, appropriate expertise and independence, effective interaction with management, timely and accurate reporting to the board, value-added insights beyond compliance. 6.13 Summary and key takeaways. Committees enable specialization and focus while maintaining board accountability. Clear charters, independence, and expertise are essential for credibility. Audit, risk, remuneration, and nomination committees form the governance core. ESG and technology committees address evolving stakeholder expectations. Cross-committee collaboration ensures integrated oversight. Regular evaluation sustains performance and transparency. 6.14 Discussion questions. Are your board committees aligned with your organization's strategic priorities? How does information flow between your committees and the full board? Does your audit committee meet privately with auditors? Are your ESG or technology risks receiving board-level attention? How do you evaluate committee effectiveness annually? Chapter 7. Board Dynamics, Culture and Decision-Making. 7.1 Introduction. The Hidden Architecture of Governance. Regulations, charters, and structures define what boards do. Board dynamics and culture define how they do it. The quality of dialogue in the boardroom often determines whether decisions are wise or weak. An organization can have perfect compliance systems and still fail if its board is dominated by fear, groupthink, or ego. Culture eats strategy for breakfast and governance for lunch. Peter Drucker. Case study: Boeing and the 737 MAX crisis. After 2 fatal crashes, investigations found that Boeing's board had limited engineering expertise and a culture that discouraged dissent. Safety concerns raised by employees never reached directors. Lesson: culture of silence can destroy oversight even in world-class companies. 7.2 Understanding boardroom dynamics. Formal and informal power. Boards operate through formal authority, roles, charters, and informal influence, relationships, experience, personality. Both shape decisions. Effective chairs harness informal power to stimulate debate, not suppress it. Group dynamics. Healthy boards balance 3 roles. Challenger tests assumptions and risk. Contributor adds expertise and insight. Connector fosters collaboration and trust. When anyone dominates, boards tilt toward either paralysis, too much challenge, or complacency, too little. Practical tip: observe who speaks, who stays silent, and who influences outcomes between meetings. These patterns reveal the board's real operating culture. 7.3 The role of the chair in shaping culture. The chairperson is the cultural architect of the board. Their leadership style sets the tone for integrity, openness, and respect. Chair's cultural responsibilities. Encourage balanced participation. Manage conflict constructively. Ensure all voices, especially minority ones, are heard. Model humility and ethical behavior. Bridge management and board communication. Case study: Royal Dutch Shell, constructive tension in action. Shell's board chair encouraged open disagreement between directors and executives, framing it as a search for truth, not a battle of egos. This constructive tension led to better strategic risk management and a stronger safety culture. Lesson: healthy friction strengthens governance. 7.4 Psychological safety and trust. Psychological safety, the belief that one can speak up without fear of ridicule or retribution, is the foundation of productive board culture. Boards with high trust exhibit open debate without personal attack, active listening and acknowledgement of different views, collective ownership of outcomes. Boards with low trust experience, defensive posturing, side conversations or alliances, superficial consensus, the meeting after the meeting. Building trust. Hold annual retreats focusing on relationship building. Encourage directors to visit operations together. Celebrate transparency, not just results. 7.5 Managing conflict and debate. Conflict is not the enemy. Poorly managed conflict is. The goal is cognitive conflict, divergence of ideas without effective conflict, personal animosity. Techniques for constructive debate. Separate issues from individuals. Use neutral language. What evidence supports that? Summarize both sides before deciding. Rotate devil's advocate roles. Encourage pre-reading and structured questioning. Case study: the New Zealand Super Fund, deliberative decision-making. The fund's board uses formal debate protocols where each proposal is reviewed by a proponent and a challenger. This disciplined method ensures rigorous analysis without personal tension. Lesson: structure can transform conflict into creativity. 7.6 Groupthink and cognitive biases. Even experienced boards fall prey to unconscious biases. 7.6.1 Common boardroom biases. Mitigation methods. Use premortems. What could make this fail? Invite external experts or observers. Encourage anonymous voting on major decisions. Rotate meeting facilitators. Case study: NASA's Challenger disaster, 1986. Engineers warned of O-ring failure risk, but pressure to maintain schedule and groupthink silenced dissent. The board-like decision committee ignored warnings, leading to tragedy. Lesson: when harmony overrides honesty, governance fails. 7.7 Diversity and inclusion in boardroom behavior. Structural diversity must translate into behavioral inclusion. Inclusive board practices. Chair explicitly invites contributions from each director. Meeting materials distributed early and accessibly. Use hybrid participation tools for remote members. Recognize and address interruptive behavior patterns. Case study: Accenture embedding inclusion in governance. Accenture's board and leadership teams track inclusion scores in internal evaluations, ensuring all directors feel heard. This practice improved engagement and reduced attrition among female leaders. Lesson: inclusion isn't just policy, it's behavior measured consistently. 7.8 Decision-making processes. Boards must balance rigor and agility. Effective decision frameworks enhance both. The decision life cycle. Information preparation. Management presents data and options. Discussion, directors question, test assumptions. Deliberation, weigh risks, alternatives, stakeholder impact. Resolution, formal vote or consensus. Documentation, minutes capture rationale and dissent. Tools for better decisions. Decision logs tracking major resolutions. Scenario planning for strategic issues. Sensitivity analyses to test assumptions. Post-decision reviews, what did we learn? Case study, Apple Inc. Strategic discipline in decision-making. Apple's board uses short, focused meetings on single strategic themes, supported by deep pre-reads and data visualization. This discipline enables speed without sacrificing scrutiny. Lesson: process clarity drives decision quality. 7.9 Information flow and board intelligence. Boards make poor decisions when information is late, biased, or overwhelming. Best practice guidelines. Management reports should focus on insights, not volume. Directors should receive materials at least 5 days before meetings. Use digital board portals for secure and searchable archives. Summaries should distinguish facts, assumptions, and opinions. Case study: Tesco, the cost of poor information flow. Before its 2014 accounting scandal, Tesco's board received overly optimistic performance summaries. Lack of independent validation contributed to oversight failure. Lesson: data transparency is the oxygen of governance. 7.10 The boardroom environment. Physical and procedural factors influence behavior. Environmental design. Circular seating encourages equality. Neutral meeting venues, not CEO's office, foster openness. Technology-enabled rooms improve access for global boards. Meeting management. Clear agendas with estimated time for each item. In-camera sessions for sensitive topics. Periodic board-only reflections without management present. 7.11 The role of the company secretary. Often underestimated, the company secretary acts as the board's conscience and process guardian. Key contributions: ensures compliance with governance codes, maintains minutes and decision trails, facilitates induction, training, and evaluation, acts as neutral bridge between board and management. A capable secretary ensures that board culture remains transparent and disciplined. 7.12 Evaluating board culture. Culture can be measured. Boards should use qualitative and quantitative tools to assess dynamics. Assessment methods. Anonymous surveys on openness and respect. Observation by external governance specialists. Metrics. Participation rates, time balance between strategy versus compliance, director turnover, decision follow-through. Follow-up. Link cultural assessments to chair and committee performance reviews. Case study: ANZ Bank measuring boardroom health. ANZ's board introduced an annual Boardroom Health Index, tracking trust, clarity, and inclusiveness. Scores improved year on year, correlating with stronger strategic execution. Lesson: what gets measured gets improved, even culture. 7.13 Practical tools and templates. 1. Board culture assessment checklist. 2. Decision quality review template. Decision topic: _______. Alternatives considered: _______. Evidence base: _______. Stakeholder implications: _______. Post-decision outcome: _______. 3. Board retreat agenda example. Team building exercise. Culture and communication workshop. Scenario-based governance simulation. Review of lessons from past decisions. Dinner session, informal reflection. 7.14 Summary and key takeaways. Board dynamics and culture determine whether governance systems work in practice. The chair shapes tone and ensures psychological safety. Constructive conflict is healthy. Personal conflict is toxic. Awareness of cognitive biases prevents groupthink. Trust, openness, and diversity of thought drive better decisions. Information quality, meeting design, and discipline processes sustain effectiveness. Culture can and should be assessed, developed, and led intentionally. 7.15 Discussion questions. Does your board have a culture of constructive challenge or cautious conformity? How does your chair encourage balanced participation? What mechanisms exist to detect and counter groupthink? How is trust built and maintained among directors? When did your board last assess its own culture? Chapter 8. The relationship between the board and management. 8.1 Introduction. The governance tightrope. A board's success depends not only on its structure and competence, but on how it interacts with management. The relationship must be based on clarity of roles, trust in communication, and accountability in performance. Too much interference, and the board becomes operational. Too little engagement, and it becomes ceremonial. The board governs, management manages, but both lead. Sir Adrian Cadbury. Case study: Volkswagen, the cost of oversight failure. Before the 2015 emissions scandal, VW's supervisory board was dominated by family and political representatives, limiting its independence and scrutiny of management. Lesson: lack of challenge from the board can allow ethical blind spots to fester at the top. 8.2 Role clarity. Who does what? The board's role. The board's job is direction and oversight, not day-to-day management. Key responsibilities include setting strategic objectives and approving plans, appointing, supporting, and evaluating the CEO, monitoring performance and risk, ensuring accountability to shareholders and stakeholders, upholding integrity and values. Management's role. Management's role is execution and leadership. Key tasks include developing strategies and operational plans, managing people, budgets, and resources, implementing board-approved initiatives, reporting performance honestly and accurately. The boundary zone. The line between governance and management isn't rigid. It's a dynamic boundary that shifts based on organizational maturity, leadership competence, and risk or crisis level. During crises, boards may need to be more hands-on. During stability, more hands-off. Framework: the governance management continuum. The healthiest relationship exists at the midpoint: collaboration with accountability. 8.3 The CEO-board relationship. The CEO is the board's single direct report and its most critical relationship. This partnership defines how well governance translates into performance. The CEO's role with the board: provide honest and complete information, seek guidance, not approval, on key issues, respect boundaries, don't overmanage the board, support transparency and accessibility to other executives. The board's role with the CEO: set clear expectations, performance, behavior, values, offer support and coaching, not micromanagement, provide timely feedback, both positive and corrective, maintain unity of voice. No individual board member should direct the CEO independently. Case study: Microsoft CEO board synergy. When Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014, he rebuilt trust with a more strategically engaged board. His transparent communication and willingness to share challenges early fostered alignment, enabling Microsoft's cultural and financial resurgence. Lesson: trust and transparency are strategic assets. 8.4 Managing information flow. Boards make only as good decisions as the information they receive. The board pack. An effective board pack should focus on insights, not just data. Include trend analysis, key risks, and leading indicators. Be distributed at least 5 days before meetings. Distinguish clearly between decision, discussion, and noting items. Avoiding information overload. Too much information can paralyze a board. Establish filters. Relevance to strategy and risk. Materiality to stakeholders. Decision urgency. Independent access. Directors must have unfettered access to key executives and external advisors. The right to request additional information through the company secretary, not directly from staff, to avoid confusion. Case study: BP and the Deepwater Horizon spill. Post-incident reviews showed that BP's board had limited understanding of operational risks, relying on high-level summaries from management. Lesson: Sanitized information can create a false sense of security. 8.5 Oversight versus interference. Boards often struggle with the boundary between guidance and meddling. Signs of overreach. Directors giving instructions to employees directly. Board involvement in day-to-day operational decisions. Second-guessing management on tactical matters. Signs of underreach. Rubber stamping management proposals. Lack of challenge in discussions. Reactive engagement only after issues arise. Finding the balance. Focus questions on what and why, not how. Establish clear delegation of authority. Maintain strategic dashboards instead of operational metrics. 8.6 The role of the Chair and CEO in governance balance. The Chair-CEO relationship is the linchpin of governance tone. While the CEO leads management, the Chair leads the board. Chair responsibilities. Facilitate effective board functioning. Ensure the CEO receives guidance and feedback. Serve as sounding board and mentor. Safeguard the board's independence. CEO responsibilities. Provide accurate, timely reports. Keep the Chair informed on material issues. Accept and act on board feedback constructively. The no surprises rule. Both Chair and CEO should maintain a no surprises relationship, sharing emerging issues early to avoid reactive crises. Case study: Barclays Bank, managing tension professionally. When J. Staley, CEO, clashed with board expectations over whistleblower handling, the Chair intervened firmly yet confidentially, preserving institutional trust. Lesson: tension is natural, professionalism in managing it is critical. 8.7 The role of the executive team. The board's relationship extends beyond the CEO to the executive leadership team, ELT. Best practices. Invite key executives, CFO, Crow, to present on major topics. Avoid bypassing the CEO when engaging with staff. Hold informal meetups or site visits to understand culture and operations. Risk of overdependence. Boards relying too heavily on one executive, often the CFO or COO, risk losing holistic visibility. Oversight must be broad and balanced. Case study: Uber 2017, when executive behavior defines governance. Uber's early governance crisis stemmed from a weak board-management relationship. The board tolerated aggressive leadership styles until reputational damage forced CEO resignation. Lesson: values oversight is as important as strategy oversight. 8.8 Managing performance and accountability. CEO evaluation. Boards must conduct annual CEO performance evaluations against strategic goals, leadership effectiveness, risk management and culture stewardship, stakeholder relations. Inputs may include 360 degrees feedback, external benchmarking, and board interviews. CEO remuneration. Link pay to long-term performance and values-driven outcomes. Avoid metrics that encourage short-term risk-taking. Succession planning. Boards must plan emergency and long-term succession. Failure to do so can destabilize strategy continuity. Case study: Disney CEO succession done right and wrong. Disney's 2020 succession plan faltered due to unclear transition timing between Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, causing leadership confusion. When Iger returned in 2022, the board implemented a structured succession framework. Lesson: succession must be a living process, not a crisis response. 8.9 Managing crises together. During crises, the board management dynamic changes. What the board should do: stay calm and visible. Support management publicly, challenge privately. Focus on stakeholder communication and governance integrity. What management should do: keep the board informed daily. Present facts, not speculation. Seek counsel before major statements or actions. Case study: Johnson & Johnson, the Tylenol crisis. In 1982, J&J's CEO and board acted jointly and decisively, prioritizing consumer safety over profit. Their unified response restored public trust. Lesson: shared values drive crisis resilience. 8.10 The company's secretary as relationship enabler. The company's secretary is not merely an administrative role, but a strategic governance facilitator. Key contributions: ensures smooth information flow between board and management, maintains records, minutes, and resolutions, provides governance advice to both sides, acts as neutral process guardian when tensions rise. A skilled secretary turns governance from formality into functionality. 8.11 The role of the lead independent director, LID. In cases where the chair is not independent, e.g., founder-led companies, the lead becomes vital. Functions: acts as liaison between independent directors and chair CEO, facilitates independent board sessions, provides alternate communication channel for concerns. 8.12 Governance in founder or family-led companies. Founder-led organizations face unique governance tensions between control and independence. Best practices: separate chair and CEO roles early. Appoint independent directors with strong credibility. Establish formal delegation of authority. Encourage transparent succession discussions. Case study: Patagonia governance anchored in purpose. Founder Yvonne Chouinard transitioned ownership to a purpose trust, ensuring sustainability principles guide management, while the board enforces accountability. Lesson: founder governance can evolve without losing mission. 8.13 Relationship diagnostics. How healthy is your board management dynamic? Checklist. Boards should conduct these diagnostics annually, facilitated by the company's secretary or an external governance advisor. 8.14 Summary and key takeaways. The board-management relationship defines governance effectiveness. Trust, transparency, and respect for boundaries are essential. The chair-CEO partnership anchors tone and collaboration. Boards must engage deeply but avoid micromanagement. Clear information flow enables effective oversight. Crisis management requires unity and calm leadership. Regular evaluation ensures balance and health of relationships. 8.15 Discussion questions. Are the boundaries between your board and management clear and respected? How does your board evaluate CEO performance and succession readiness? Is your board getting timely, accurate, and relevant information? What mechanisms are in place to manage chair-CEO tension constructively? How well did your board and management function together during your last crisis? Chapter 9. Board Evaluation, Learning, and Continuous Improvement. 9.1 Introduction. The Learning Board. Even the best boards can stagnate. Governance excellence is not a destination. It's a journey of learning. Just as organizations innovate and adapt, so too must their boards. What gets measured gets improved, and what gets reflected upon gets transformed. Anonymous governance principle. Continuous improvement in board performance means routinely asking: are we governing effectively? Are we aligned with our organization's strategy and values? Are we learning from our mistakes and anticipating change? Case study: the Singapore Sovereign Wealth Funds, Temasek and GIC. Singapore's two sovereign funds conduct annual external board evaluations, rotating external reviewers every 3 years. Their feedback loops influence director training, succession planning, and committee design. Lesson: regular, structured reflection sustains excellence in complex organizations. 9.2 Why board evaluation matters. Board evaluations serve 3 purposes. Accountability, ensuring directors perform their duties effectively. Improvement, identifying strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities for growth. Transparency, demonstrating commitment to good governance for stakeholders. Evaluations move boards from compliance to competence, from checking the box to raising the bar. 9.3 Legal and governance context. Most governance codes globally, including the UK Corporate Governance Code, King IV, South Africa, OECD Principles of Corporate Governance and Cadbury Report require or recommend regular board evaluations. Typical frequency. Annual self-evaluation, led internally. External evaluation, every 2 to 3 years for listed or large organizations. 9.4. The Board Evaluation Framework. A sound evaluation examines the board at 3 levels. Framework, the 3C model of board evaluation. Composition. Do we have the right skills, diversity, and independence? Culture. How do we interact, challenge, and collaborate? Competence. Are we adding measurable value to the organization? 9.5. Designing the evaluation process. A good evaluation blends qualitative reflection and quantitative data. Step 1. Define scope and objectives. Clarify what you want to achieve. Is this a compliance exercise or a developmental review? Are we evaluating board culture, strategy oversight, or individual performance? Step 2. Select methodology. Options include questionnaires and self-assessments, efficient but surface level. Structured interviews, deeper insights. Observation of meetings, behavioral evidence. External facilitation, objectivity and benchmarking. Step 3. Gather data. Board papers, minutes, attendance records. Director surveys and feedback forms. CEO and management input on board effectiveness. Step 4. Analyze and interpret. Synthesize key findings under strengths and best practices. Areas for improvement. Development priorities for the coming year. Step 5. Report and discuss. Present a summary report to the board and, if appropriate, shareholders. Focus on insights and actions, not blame. Step 6. Implement improvement plan. Assign accountability for follow-up actions. Track progress over time. Case study. Unilever Board Self-Reflection as Strategic Practice. Unilever's board integrates its annual evaluation with strategic off-sites. Insights from the review shape future agendas and training. Lesson. Evaluation should inform board evolution, not just record-keeping. 9.6. The role of the chair and company secretary. The chair's role. Set a tone of openness and self-awareness. Ensure the evaluation is honest, not defensive. Follow up on agreed improvements. The company secretary's role. Design and coordinate the evaluation process. Manage logistics and confidentiality. Record outcomes and ensure accountability. Support director training and induction based on findings. 9.7. Individual director evaluation. Evaluating individual directors can be sensitive but vital. Key dimensions. Attendance and preparation. Contribution to debate and oversight. Integrity and independence. Knowledge of the business. Collaboration and respect. Commitment to learning. Peer feedback approach. Use confidential peer surveys to identify behavioral blind spots. The goal is development, not discipline. Chair evaluation. The chair should also be reviewed separately, assessing leadership of meetings, ability to foster inclusion and challenge, relationship with CEO and management, stewardship of governance culture. Case study. The UK FTSE Board's external chair reviews. The Financial Reporting Council recommends periodic independent reviews of the chair, particularly for long-tenured or founder-led boards. Lesson. No one, not even the chair, is beyond evaluation. 9.8. External board evaluation. When to use an external evaluator. Every 2 to 3 years for listed companies. When the board is in transition, e.g., new chair post-crisis. When internal evaluations lack objectivity or depth. Choosing an evaluator. Select firms or consultants with independence and confidentiality safeguards. Governance expertise, not just HR skills. Experience across industries and sectors. Deliverables. Report summarizing findings. Benchmarking against best practices. Facilitated workshop to discuss insights and next steps. Case study, the World Bank Board Evaluation. The World Bank Group conducts an annual independent evaluation of board and committee effectiveness. The process includes confidential director interviews and peer review. Findings inform director training programs and governance reforms. Lesson: institutional learning depends on continuous feedback. 9.9 Follow-up and action planning. Evaluation without follow-up is meaningless. The action plan should include: progress should be reviewed at least twice yearly. 9.10 Building a learning board. A learning board regularly reflects on lessons from past decisions. Engages in continuous director education. Scans global trends and best practices. Encourages curiosity and adaptability. Continuous director education. Boards should provide ongoing learning opportunities in strategy and innovation, financial reporting and ESG, cybersecurity and technology, risk and resilience, stakeholder engagement. Many regulators, e.g., Central Bank of Kenya, UK FRC, now require annual training hours for directors. Induction and onboarding. New directors should receive detailed background on strategy, risks, and culture. Visit operations and meet key executives. Undergo governance training within 3 months of joining. Case study, DBS Bank, building a learning board. DBS, Southeast Asia's largest bank, operates a board learning academy, offering customized masterclasses on fintech, risk, and sustainability. Directors also attend joint workshops with senior management. Lesson: continuous learning keeps boards future ready. 9.11 Using technology in evaluation and learning. Digital tools now make evaluations more robust. Online survey platforms for anonymous feedback. AI-assisted text analysis to identify recurring themes. Digital dashboards tracking follow-up progress. Virtual training modules for directors. Technology enhances transparency, but cannot replace trust. 9.12 Embedding a culture of reflection. To embed reflection, schedule learning moments in every meeting. After major decisions, hold short lessons learned sessions. Encourage directors to share insights from external events. Publish an annual governance improvement statement in reports. Reflection should be part of the board's rhythm, not a once-a-year ritual. Case study, the Danish Industrial Foundation Boards. Many Danish industrial foundations conduct post-mortem reviews after each major decision, analyzing process quality rather than outcomes. This method builds institutional memory and learning. Lesson: reflection institutionalizes wisdom. 9.13 Common pitfalls in board evaluation. Box-ticking mentality, treating evaluation as a formality. Defensiveness, resistance to constructive criticism. Lack of follow-up, ignoring agreed actions. Over-reliance on questionnaires without real dialogue. Failure to connect evaluation with strategy, missing the bigger picture. Boards should view evaluation as developmental coaching, not judgment. 9.14 The continuous improvement cycle. Board improvement equals evaluation, right pointing arrow action, right pointing arrow learning, right pointing arrow reevaluation. This cycle drives continuous adaptation to market disruption, leadership change, regulatory shifts, stakeholder expectations. Boards that learn evolve, boards that don't become obsolete. Framework, the continuous governance learning loop. Assess, review current board and committee effectiveness. Align, adjust composition, priorities, and culture. Act, implement strategic governance improvements. Adapt, review and refine regularly. 9.15 Practical tools and templates. 1. Board evaluation questionnaire, Sample excerpt. 2. Director Development Log. 3. Board Learning Calendar Example. 9.16 Summary and Key Takeaways. Board evaluation is both a compliance requirement and a leadership tool. Honest reflection builds collective intelligence. Evaluations must lead to action, not end with reports. Continuous director learning sustains strategic agility. Technology and external perspectives enhance insight. Embedding reflection into board culture ensures long-term excellence. 9.17 Discussion questions. How often does your board conduct a full evaluation? Are your evaluations developmental or purely compliance-driven? How does your board act on evaluation findings? What mechanisms support director learning and reflection? How can technology improve your board's self-assessment process? Chapter 10. Ethics, Integrity, and Corporate Culture. 10.1 Introduction. The Moral Compass of the Board. Every organization operates in a landscape shaped by ethics and trust. While strategy determines what an organization achieves, culture and integrity determine how it achieves it. A board's ethical leadership defines the organization's reputation, resilience, and long-term success. In an age of social media scrutiny, whistleblowing, and ESG expectations, boards must actively steward culture, not merely set policies. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, and ethics for survival. Peter Drucker, paraphrased. Case study: Volkswagen and the emissions scandal. Volkswagen's board failed to detect or challenge a culture that prioritized market dominance over compliance. The resulting emissions scandal cost over €30 billion, multiple resignations, and lasting reputational damage. Lesson: ethical lapses often stem not from individual malice but from systemic cultural failure and lack of board oversight. 10.2 The board's role in ethical governance. The board is ultimately responsible for setting the tone at the top, ensuring ethical systems and policies are in place, overseeing corporate culture and conduct risk, holding management accountable for behavior and decisions. Boards cannot delegate integrity, they must model it. 10.3 Defining ethics and integrity in governance. Ethics, principles that guide right and wrong behavior. Integrity, consistency between words, actions, and values. Culture, shared beliefs and norms shaping behavior and practice. 3 dimensions of organizational integrity. Structural integrity, policies, codes, controls. Behavioral integrity, how leaders act when no one is watching. Cultural integrity, the unwritten rules that drive real decisions. 10.4 Regulatory and framework context. Global governance frameworks increasingly emphasize ethics and culture. These frameworks converge on one truth: boards are guardians of integrity. 10.5 Building an ethical framework. Step 1. Define organizational values. Start by articulating core values that are authentic, reflecting real purpose; actionable, guiding behavior; aligned with stakeholder expectations. Example. Step 2. Establish a code of ethics. A code of ethics translates values into practical standards. It should cover conflicts of interest, anti-bribery and corruption, fair competition, confidentiality and data privacy, whistleblowing, social responsibility. The board should review and approve the code annually. Step 3. Embed ethics into systems. Ethics must live within policies and procedures, procurement, HR, compliance. Decision-making frameworks, e.g., ethics checklists for board papers. Performance reviews, ethics as a KPI. Reward systems, no incentives for unethical outcomes. Case study: Johnson & Johnson's Credo. Since 1943, J&J's Credo, a value statement prioritizing patients, employees, and society over profits, has guided decision-making. During the 1982 Tylenol poisoning crisis, the board and CEO prioritized public safety, recalling products at huge cost. Result: the company rebuilt trust and became a case study in ethical leadership. Lesson: a living code shapes decisions during crises. 10.6 The tone at the top and mood in the middle. The board sets the tone at the top, but managers transmit the mood in the middle. Without alignment, values can erode between boardroom and frontline. Indicators of misalignment. Say-do gap: values on paper differ from daily practice. Excessive focus on short-term results. Silence or fear in meetings. Rationalizing minor breaches: everyone does it. Boards should monitor both behavioral indicators and cultural data through employee surveys, whistleblower reports, and exit interviews. 10.7 Oversight of corporate culture. The UK Financial Reporting Council, FRC, defines culture as the way we do things around here. Boards can oversee culture through 1. Cultural metrics. Employee engagement and turnover. Ethics hotline usage and resolution rates. Internal audit findings on behavior. Customer complaints and trust scores. 2. Boardroom discussions. Include a standing culture report at quarterly meetings. Review culture alignment with strategic goals. 3. Site visits and informal channels. Directors should visit operations and speak with staff directly. Listening builds insight beyond management filters. Case study: the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, CBA. After a series of misconduct scandals, the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, APRA, found CBA's board had blind spots about culture and risk behavior. CBA reformed board reporting, increased ethics oversight, and established a board ethics and accountability committee. Lesson: culture is a board-level risk, not an HR issue. 10.8 Ethical decision-making framework for boards. Boards often face ethical gray zones, where legality and integrity diverge. A structured decision framework helps ensure consistent values-driven choices. The 5R Ethical Decision Model. Recognize the ethical issue. Reflect on values and stakeholders affected. Review alternatives and potential consequences. Resolve the decision transparently. Report and learn from the outcome. Tool: ethics filter for board papers. Before approving a proposal, ask: is it legal and compliant? Is it consistent with our values and purpose? Would we be comfortable if this appeared on the front page of a newspaper? Does it create long-term stakeholder value? Have we considered unintended consequences? 10.9 Whistleblowing and speak-up culture. Whistleblowing systems are essential for surfacing misconduct early. Board responsibilities. Ensure a secure and anonymous reporting channel exists. Protect whistleblowers from retaliation. Regularly review trends and case closure rates. Encourage open dialogue. Speak up rather than shut up. Case study: Siemens Ethics Reborn. Following a major bribery scandal in 2006, Siemens rebuilt its governance system. The board appointed a chief compliance officer, launched a Tell Us hotline, and created a global ethics training program. The company recovered its reputation and became a global compliance benchmark. Lesson: transparency and whistleblower protection rebuild trust. 10.10 The role of the board committees. Audit and Risk Committee. Monitors fraud, compliance, and internal control systems. Reviews whistleblowing reports. Ensures ethical risk is integrated into enterprise risk management. Nomination and Governance Committee. Ensures board members exemplify ethical conduct. Oversees succession planning and cultural fit. Remuneration Committee. Aligns pay with values, avoiding rewards for unethical success. Reviews non-financial performance metrics. 10.11 The Ethical Board, Leadership and Practice. Ethical board behaviors. Transparency in decisions. Fairness in stakeholder treatment. Humility and accountability. Courage to challenge management. Avoiding conflicts of interest. Board chair's role. Model integrity in tone and behavior. Encourage open discussion of ethical dilemmas. Intervene early in cultural drift or misconduct. Case study, Wells Fargo 2016. Board oversight failures allowed a sales-driven culture to encourage unethical account creation. After exposure, the board commissioned an independent investigation, replaced key leaders, and tied future bonuses to customer trust metrics. Lesson: incentive design reflects culture, bad incentives breed bad ethics. 10.12 Integrating ethics into strategy. Ethics should not be a side function. It must guide M&A decisions, e.g., reputational due diligence, supply chain management, ethical sourcing, technology adoption, AI ethics, data privacy, ESG commitments, values beyond compliance. Boards should assess ethical implications alongside financial outcomes. Tool: the ethics lens for strategic decisions. When reviewing strategy, ask: who benefits and who bears the risk? Is it aligned with our stated purpose and stakeholder trust? Are we transparent about trade-offs? What are the long-term societal implications? 10.13 Training and continuous ethical learning. Ethics evolve with context. AI, privacy, diversity, sustainability all bring new dilemmas. Boards should conduct annual ethics and culture workshops. Engage with external ethicists and thought leaders. Include ethical scenarios in board simulations. Regularly review global ethical trends, e.g., ESG, AI, climate justice. Case study, Novartis, from compliance to values. After compliance issues, Novartis created a culture and ethics renewal program, training 100,000 employees. The board tied management bonuses to ethical culture indicators. Lesson: ethical transformation must start at the top but permeate throughout. 10.14 Monitoring ethical performance. Boards should measure culture and ethics using mixed indicators. 10.15 Crisis ethics and board conduct. In crises, ethical leadership defines survival. Boards should ask: are we being transparent with stakeholders? Are we balancing empathy with accountability? What do our values demand right now? In a crisis, ethics move from philosophy to practice. Case study, Starbucks 2018. After a racial bias incident in Philadelphia, Starbucks board and CEO issued a public apology, closed stores for racial bias training, and restructured inclusion oversight. Lesson: rapid, values-driven responses strengthen trust even in failure. 10.16 Embedding integrity in the board's DNA. A culture of integrity is sustained through ethical recruitment, values fit in director selection, transparent disclosure, owning mistakes publicly, periodic ethical audits, internal and external reviews. Leadership example: the board walks the talk. Integrity becomes a strategic asset, not a compliance cost. 10.17 Summary and key takeaways. Ethics and culture are board-level responsibilities. Integrity means consistency between values and actions. Culture oversight requires data, dialogue, and leadership. Whistleblowing and transparency strengthen trust. Boards must integrate ethics into strategy and incentives. Continuous learning sustains ethical vigilance. The true test of integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching, and ensuring your organization would too. 10.18 Discussion questions. How does your board measure and discuss organizational culture? Is there a clear link between strategy, values, and incentives? What systems encourage employees to speak up without fear? Does the board model ethical leadership in practice? How prepared is your organization to handle an ethical crisis?